The parquet, fate itself. Right at the top of everything sit the parquet, the fates. These three goddesses don't just influence your life, they basically run the cosmic admin office. Nona spins your life thread, Decima measures it, and Morta cuts it, usually at the most inconvenient moment possible. Romans believed that even the biggest gods couldn't argue with them. Not Jupiter, not Mars, nobody. Fate was simply the rules, and the gods had to follow them. For Romans, this made the world feel orderly. Even the divine had limits. Fate balanced everything. Jupiter, supreme god of the state. Just under Fate is Jupiter, the king of the gods, the lightning thrower, and the divine CEO of the Roman state. His job? Keep order, reward oaths, punish liars, protect Rome, and generally make sure civilization doesn't fall apart. If Jupiter was on your side, your city won battles, crops grew, and treaties held strong. When a general returned victorious, he'd parade through Rome, show off all his loot, and then thank Jupiter for the whole thing. Because if Jupiter wasn't on your side, that victory simply didn't happen. To the Romans, Jupiter wasn't just a god. He was the reason their laws had authority, and believed that with him, their city was destined for greatness. The major gods, Rome's divine cabinet. Below Jupiter is the whole pantheon of gods, who run the world like a very complicated group project. There's Juno, keeping marriages and childbirth from becoming complete chaos. Mars, patron of war and the father of Rome's founders. Minerva, helping with strategy and crafts. Neptune, in charge of every wave that ever soaked a Roman sailor. And Venus, whose beauty and charm somehow made her the mythical ancestor of the entire Roman people. These gods oversaw everything Romans cared about: farming, love, war, storms, knowledge, family, the city itself. Temples, festivals, sacrifices, and stories all revolved around them. They connected the everyday world to something much bigger. Heroes and demigods, Rome's mythic overachievers. Under the big gods come the heroes, part mortal, part divine, fully dramatic. These are figures like Aeneas, the refugee from Troy who became the forefather of Rome. Romulus, the city's legendary first king, and Hercules, who Rome eagerly adopted for his strength and endless monster punching. Heroes stood halfway between gods and people. They made the ancient world feel reachable. You couldn't become Jupiter, sure, but maybe, just maybe, you could live heroically, leave a legacy, and be remembered forever. For Romans, these stories weren't just entertainment. They were family history, identity, and national mythology woven together. Nature spirits and nymphs, the neighbors you don't want to annoy. Further down are the nymphs, spirits, and guardians living in the rivers, forests, trees, springs, and caves. Romans treated nature like it had eyes, because, in their minds, it did. River nymphs guarded fresh water, tree spirits watched over groves, and woodland creatures like Faunus roamed the countryside, keeping shepherds on their toes. Cross a stream, enter a forest, dig a well. You might want to say a polite prayer, just in case. These spirits made every hill, pool, and field feel alive. Nature wasn't just scenery, it was full of personality. Noumena, the everyday powers in everything. Beneath these spirits lies the oldest layer of Roman religion, the noumena. These aren't characters or personalities, they're more like divine functions built into the world. There is Terminus, the numen for boundaries, Cardia for doorways and hinges, Robagus for protecting crops from disease. Romans didn't picture these powers as people. They were forces you acknowledged with rituals, so things kept working the way they should. This made Roman religion incredibly practical. There was literally a divine presence for almost every task, object, and moment. Household gods, the home team. Closer than all the great sky gods were the deities living right inside the Roman home. Every family had its own little shrine where the Lares, guardian spirits often tied to ancestors, kept watch. One for the Penates, who protected the pantry and the hearth. One for the Vesta, kept the sacred flame burning. And every household had one for its own genius, a protective spirit linked to the family's well-being. Romans greeted these gods every day, offered them bits of meals, and treated them almost like invisible family members. These weren't distant mythic beings. They were part of the rhythm of cooking, working, celebrating, and simply being alive. Creatures, monsters, and the mythic wild zone. And finally, out on the edges of Roman imagination, are the monsters and mythic creatures, often shared with Greek mythology. Centaurs galloping around, being half everything. Harpies swooping down with terrifying bad manners. Cyclopes forging divine weapons. And giant sea beasts lurking somewhere you definitely don't want your boat to be. They weren't worshipped so much as feared, respected, and enjoyed in stories. They represented everything unpredictable: storms, wilderness, danger, and the parts of the world that didn't fit neatly into temples or rituals. What this whole structure shows, from the absolute inevitability of fate down through Jupiter's authority, the major gods, the heroes, the spirits of nature, the practical noumena, the cozy household gods, and finally, the wild monsters. Roman myth created a universe full of order, layers, and meaning. It shaped how Romans saw life, history, family, nature, and the unknown. To them, the world wasn't random. It was alive, structured, and full of divine presence. From the highest heavens right down to your kitchen pantry. If you liked this simple explanation, subscribe for more Roman history, stick figure style. And if there's something about Rome you've always wondered about, comment it below, and it might become the next video. This is Rome Illustrated. Stay legendary.